Are you thinking about getting an anamorphic lens to use on your cell phone to get that letterbox cinema look? Well, this is the right video for you. We're going to look at and go shoot with the Freewell Anamorphic 1.33 Natural Streak Lens on the iPhone 17 Pro Max. But we're going to take it a little bit further and do some more experimenting to see if you really need a lens like this and want to use it. And I compare using the lens versus not using the lens and just adding the same type of letterbox effect to the video. Is there any difference? And what about that color streak effect that the lens produces? Can we create a similar effect in just a video editing program like DaVinci Resolve? Is that even possible? Also, can you use this lens and shoot at different zoom ranges with your cell phone? So in this video, I'm going to help you find out if this is the type of lens that you would want to use and purchase. I even surprised myself with my end results and my thoughts on this lens after using it and testing it. A lot of people love using a lens like this on their cell phone, but in reality, do they really need to be using a lens like this? Is it really going to make a difference in how their videos look in a more cinematic look or not? Can they also create the same similar look without using a lens like this? I will be covering all this and more in this video, so let's get started. So this is the box that the Freewell Anamorphic Lens comes in. And it comes with this nice little pouch that the lens fits in. And here's what the lens looks like. It's got the 17 millimeter thread on the back here. Comes with a magnetic little hold on here. And when you take the lens hood off, this magnetic area can also fit inside there or right on the hood like that. Also, a very unique feature is it has a level right here. So when you have it on your cell phone, you can get it leveled just perfectly by using this level bubble. So for me to use it with my filter, I have 67 millimeter filters here. And it comes with a 58 millimeter thread. So I bought this adapter right here so I can screw this adapter on to the lens. Let me hold it up here. Screw that on. Then my 67 millimeter filter will screw right onto it. So it looks like that. Now I'm ready to go shooting. Okay, for this demonstration, I'm using my wife's cell phone, iPhone 17 Pro Max, and I slid it into this newer cage. I'm going to take the lens that I have my ND filter mounted on and screw it right on here. There we have it. And I've got the little bubble level up here on the top. So if you had this on a tripod, you could bubble level it. So you've got it straight even with your cell phone. Now we're going to go out and shoot some. Actually, I shot over multiple days at multiple things. To kick off the video, first let's look at what mounts on the cell phone the anamorphic lens can work on. First off, it definitely works on the 24mm lens, but when you're in the 24mm, you can also switch to 48mm, and that also works. And what might surprise many people is that you can take it off the 24mm lens and place it on the new 100mm lens and shoot in 100mm, and then even switch it up to 200mm and shoot with it, and that also works. Now here's our first sample image. This was shot with, oh wait a minute, not the anamorphic lens, but the 24mm lens built into the cell phone with letterbox bars just added to it. And then we'll have the 13mm lens that's built into the cell phone, and coming up after that, we'll show the anamorphic lens to show the comparisons. I'm going to show you many different comparisons so you can see the difference between the anamorphic lens and just the regular 24 and 13mm lenses with just the same type of letterbox bars added to the top and bottom of them. Now we're going to see a comparison coming up next of all three of them. Here's all three of them together. Do you see much difference in them? Basically, the anamorphic lens is the equivalent of an 18mm lens. So each lens has a different focal length, so they have a slightly different look. Here's one thing that you should know when shooting with a lens like this. It does not actually add top and bottom black bars. It's basically just cropping out the top of your image and the bottom of your image. As you can see here, when you drop it into DaVinci Resolve, if you have it on any other top area layer, you can see right through that there's no black bars on each upper and lower area. So if you're going to place the clip on another layer other than the bottom one, you need to add a black generator layer underneath it and link them together to be able to move it around to different layers within your project. So now here you can see that I'm linking them together. So once they're linked together, then I could place it over the top of another item, and the black bars are there because I added them. Now let's look at some more video shot with the anamorphic lens. I shot multiple days in multiple places. This was at sunset, right after the sun had set. I added some custom color grading to this. I hope you like it. Next, I'm going to switch into the 48mm zoom range that you can do right in the Blackmagic camera app. I shot a few different scenes at 48mm to show the difference. And here's one more at 48mm. Now here we see one of the problems that I've noticed with this lens. It has quite a bit of barrel distortion happening, as you can see here. On this clip here, I was getting a little bit of lens breathing happening as it was starting to get a little bit darker out. Here we are at a local fishing pier, but coming up soon, I will show more comparisons between the anamorphic lens and the built-in lenses of the cell phone. In this almost night scene, we can now start seeing the lens flares that this lens can produce. Do you like the look of this? All the streak lines from the lights? It seems a bit over excessive to me. Here is a just after sunset beach scene, shot with the anamorphic lens. Now we're shooting straight into traffic to show more of the lens flares and streaks that the anamorphic lens can produce. As you can see, it can produce a lot of streaking of the lights as the cars are moving. Do you like this type of effect? Is this why you would buy an anamorphic lens for your cell phone? Here's another look as we pan slowly into this area of this outdoor bar that has a lot of lights, so we can see a little bit more of the light streaking effect. Let's go shoot in the daytime now. We're going to have a lot of different comparisons coming up of the anamorphic lens versus just the built-in cell phone lens to see if you can tell much of a difference. All this video was shot in the new Apple Log 2 setting with some basic color grading or conversions done in DaVinci Resolve. Here we were at a festival at the end of the day. Not many people were left. So we see this lone guitar player playing. And next, I'll zoom into the 48mm setting so you can see what it looks like changing it over during the day to the 48mm setting. We are right on the fishing docks area where people come to go charter fishing boats. So we have lots of nice views of boats and scenery in the area here. This was a good area for testing the anamorphic lens in multiple different settings, and we're just still getting started. Here's a nice wide view of the scenery of the back bay. And here I'm walking out to this long dock, have the camera on a tripod, and I'm kind of getting these birds to go flying up in the air for this shot. I thought that was pretty neat. Here's another view of some more of the boats. So what do you think so far? Do you like the anamorphic lens from Freewell? This is the 1.33x lens. Now here you can see a bit of an orange cast going on because we're just getting down into the sunset area. And next, here's the anamorphic lens. We're going to do a comparison here. Next is going to be the 13mm lens that I've added the top and bottom bars to. And there you go. It's actually a much wider scene, as you can see. There's not much difference between them as far as any type of real anamorphic look. And there it is without the bars added. And here's some more scenes with just the cell phone, with me adding the top and bottom letterbox bars added to them. And here's one more scene. You'll see a little bouncing here every once in a while because we're standing on a dock and there's a lot of kids walking around, and as people walk on the dock, it bounces the tripod a little bit. Here's a really good comparison. This is the anamorphic lens, me sitting there and shooting me on a tripod. And then next, I'll take the anamorphic lens off and just shoot with the 13mm built-in lens. And you can see how much wider the view is on the 13mm lens. And by adding the letterboxes, I'm getting that cinematic look without an anamorphic lens. The color's a little bit different on them both because the anamorphic lens actually had an ND filter on it that I was using. But look how much wider that is. Here we can see both of them side by side, the anamorphic lens and the 13mm cell phone lens. Does one look more cinematic than the other? Actually, I kind of like the 13mm lens because it's more of a wider view. What do you think? Here's another shot of the anamorphic lens showing the light streaks as we're now getting more into the nighttime. But can we reproduce that lens flare look in DaVinci Resolve? Here's the 13mm lens, and it's showing similar lens flares, and I could turn it off because I added them using a plugin that's included in DaVinci Resolve. Anybody can do this. You don't need to have a special lens to add lens flares. Not only could you add the lens flares, you can change the direction of the lens flares, like you're seeing here. I could also change the color of them, so I wouldn't need different versions of lenses that produce different light colors. And here you can see I'm changing some of the colors by just changing settings Next, I will show you how to do this in DaVinci Resolve. It's very easy using one of the built-in plugins. You will have a lot of different settings to play with, including the light intensity and the length of how long you want the light rays to be, so you can control how short or long they are. You can also change the direction, swinging the light rays from one area to another. And as we go down the menu, you will see things like brightness, even different color settings that allow you to change some of the colors. And of course, color saturation. There's even a color picker that you can pick a certain color that you want to be your main color of the lights. So in the end, do you really need an anamorphic lens that creates different light streaks when you could create them so easily yourself right here in DaVinci Resolve from any clip? Here we go on another day with the anamorphic lens, shooting some traffic, getting some movement going. And next, I'm going to switch over to the 13mm lens, taking the anamorphic lens off. And when I do that, the 13mm lens is so wide, I actually have to move forward quite a bit to get the similar framing because it's so wide. This video of the trains is a great example of showing the anamorphic lens versus the 13mm lens. To me, all I'm seeing with the anamorphic lens is an 18mm lens that has the top and bottoms of it cropped out. Both the 13mm and 18mm lens would both have a slightly different look to them. So I think if I had an 18mm lens on the cell phone, I'd basically have the same exact look with the letterbox added. What do you think? Here they are both side by side. Here's another train example, starting with the anamorphic lens. And then we're going to switch over to the 13mm lens. And with the 13mm lens, I have to take about 4 steps forward to try and match the framing of the anamorphic lens. It's basically an 18mm equivalent. Here's another comparison, some bushes, starting with the anamorphic lens, and then we'll switch over to the 13mm lens that once again, I had to step forward about 3 to 4 steps to try to frame it up the best as I can to look the same. In this next example, we're starting with the anamorphic lens once again, but instead of moving forward, we're moving backwards. And I'm using the 24mm lens built into the cell phone to try to frame it up similar. And with the black bars added, there's not a whole lot of difference there, just a slight color difference. Here I'm shooting this nice water fountain with the anamorphic lens, and then we'll switch to the 13mm lens, once again moving it forward. Are you seeing any great advantage to using the anamorphic lens over not using the anamorphic lens and just adding the same type of black letterbox to the image? Here I move to another location, walking out in front of the camera that's on a tripod. This is with the anamorphic lens, and next I'm going to take that off and do the same thing with the 13mm lens. And then we're going to do a semi-close-up coming up next. Here's a waist-up shot from the anamorphic lens, getting some of the orange sun glow that's starting to come in. Next, I'll switch to the 13mm built-in cell phone lens. Is one more cinematic looking than the other? I'm honestly not seeing it, except for the difference in the focal length. Here I will do 3 different versions. The first one starting with the anamorphic lens, then moving to the 13mm lens that I got to move in closer. Then we'll switch to the 24mm lens that I have to move quite a ways further back to get the same framing. So you can see the 3 different lenses to see the different types of focal lengths that the 13, 18, and 24mm lenses all produce. Here's one of our last shots of the day. You can see a bit of the sun glow on the building, starting with the anamorphic lens, and then we'll move to the 13mm lens, and you can see that I have to step forward quite a bit to try to frame it up to be similar to the anamorphic lens. Because the anamorphic lens is basically an 18mm lens, so I have to match the 13 to the 18 by moving forward. So here we are. Does this make you want to buy an anamorphic lens for your cell phone? So that was the video on the Freewell anamorphic lens. Here's the nice pouch that it comes with. Cap fits on just like that. Back cap goes on like that. And it all can fit right in the nice pouch. You can push it in there. We'll say it's a little bit hard to get it out. You got to shake it to get it out, but it'll come out. You can zipper it up. Whoa! And there we have it. Nice small little lens to carry around. So in the end result, what do you think? Is this a lens that you would want to use, that you'd want to buy to get some kind of cinematic look? Or can you get the same cinematic look without buying a lens like this? Not just this particular brand, but any brand of lens like this for the anamorphic type of look. When you could add your own top and bottom letterbox bars in DaVinci Resolve or whatever program you're editing with, do you feel like you can get that same look, especially when you add in the light rays in DaVinci Resolve that give you the same light streaks, and you could actually control them, the distance of them, even the color. So you don't need a different version of lens for different colors of light streaks, or to swap out, like this brand I believe has a new one that you could swap out different colors. Well, you can create those colors in the light streak plugin in DaVinci Resolve, and even shift them to go this way, that way. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video and learned something from it, maybe got something out of it. Maybe this will make you want to buy the lens. Maybe it'll make you not want to buy the lens. But anyways, I hope I helped out, and I will see you next time.